Okay.
Hello, welcome to ANF Sports Tonight. I'm Fred Khalil. Emily Gagnon is with us from the Greensboro Coliseum, where Kennesaw State lost a tough first-round game. Emily, you were there in person. I thought, they had them on the ropes, man. The Owls had them on the ropes and let them off the hook. So that was kind of tough. Xavier, the Musketeers.
And what was pretty cool, Fred, I don't know if you could tell on TV, but this felt like a home game for KSU. Not only were their fans here, and they were here in numbers, but for all the other fans watching who were here waiting for the next game, they were also cheering for Kennesaw State. You could tell that every person in here, other than Xavier fans, were cheering for the Owls. So that's what I found pretty cool, because, there are 4 games being played here today. There are different sessions, so fans can actually watch games ahead of time, right? So you had Iowa State fans, Pitt fans watching that game, and they kind of adopted KSU, the underdog, as their favorite throughout the game. So they were the ones cheering along with KSU fans as the Owls seemed to be going on a run that eventually ended, but it was pretty cool to hear. You can't fault this team for falling against Xavier. They were certainly the underdog. They played their butts off. But, Fred, I don't know if you noticed in the last 10 minutes of that game, they really struggled to score. Yeah. Shots were not falling. They went 8 minutes without a field goal. They missed 10 in a row, and that's when Xavier went on a run, a 24-6 run, and they won.
That was the difference right there. You can't go that long, especially in the tournament, without a field goal, and that's really what cost Kennesaw State in the end. But Amir Abdul-Rahim, the whole gang, all those kids, all those players that are from the Atlanta area, not all of them, but the ones that are, what a great showing, and that had to be a great experience for those guys.
Oh, and it was really, really cool, Fred. Just like you said, a great experience for them, because after the game in the locker room, obviously they were visibly upset, but they all said, now we know what it takes to get here. We know the standard. We know how we have to play to be able to go to the NCAA tournament. So this is experience that they can take with them into next season. And Terrell Burton, the heartbeat of this team, the senior guard, he did tell us after the game in the locker room that he was coming back next season. He has a COVID year. So, Fred, this team is still going to be together next year. So the product that you saw this season, you'll certainly see again next year, but perhaps with even more cohesiveness. You hear the players say how close they are, how they've never been around a group of guys that they get along with so well and gel with so well. And so all of those guys are back. Imagine that. Imagine what they did this year, and they're bringing that right into next season. So I think the experience will definitely be there for them to be able to come back next year. They definitely have a chip on their shoulder. They have a bad taste in their mouth. They truly thought they were going to win this one, and it appeared that way for a while. But again, we both agree you can't go for almost 8 minutes in any game without scoring, and that's what really, really, really killed them in the end. And Xavier took advantage, because for Xavier, shots weren't dropping for them, in the late first half. And then when they came out in the second half, KSU was still making buckets. But around that 10-minute mark is when things changed.
Yeah, that was tough. And to see Xavier come back the way they did, that's, they're from a big conference. They're from the Big East. That's a program that has tournament experience. So, in the end, I think that's what kind of came through and paid off. For Xavier was their, the tournament tested. I guess the program has been tournament tested, and a lot of those guys, were just able to overcome that double-digit deficit and win the game. All right, our next topic, upsets today. We had some upsets. Although, somebody said Pittsburgh over Iowa State. I don't think Pitt is really that much of an upset. They're in the ACC. That's a pretty good conference. I know Iowa State in the Big 12. That's a good basketball conference as well. But Pittsburgh's been pretty good in the ACC, so I didn't see that one as a big upset. Was there any upset that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I'm with you, Fred. I thought that that's how the game would go, so I didn't think that was a big upset. And that game was here in Greensboro. And I thought, man, we just got off of one of the most exciting games of the day with KSU, taking Liberty right down to the wire. And then you have that game come up, and it's like, wah, wah, wah. But, yesterday's upsets I thought were much better. Hopefully tonight we'll see something crazy. But Furman and Princeton, those two games to me were some of the best games I've watched in a long time. And we keep saying it. That's what makes this time of the year so special. I talked to Marsha, my mom, this morning. That's all she wanted to talk about. I mean, seriously. She's like, Emily, how about those two games? She's like, I picked Furman on one of my brackets. I didn't pick Princeton. She's like, I meant to. That 15 seed, what is it, a third year in a row now that a 15 seed moves on to the second round. So there's maybe something about getting that 15 seed. There's like a little sweet spot right there. But those two games to me by far have been the most exciting, like up until now, right? So hopefully tonight we'll see something else. We'll see something else shake. But so far, I think the tournament has lived up to expectations.
And the tournament does. We've talked about this too. What the tournament does so much for these schools. I mean, it exposes them. Like Kennesaw State, I mean, their enrollment's already huge. But they'll be able to go out and recruit now and get players because they've seen KSU, they've seen those uniforms, they've seen those colors in the NCAA tournament. And when Coach Amir Abdul-Rahim goes out to recruit, I think it'll be a lot easier. Although I don't even think he has to get out of his car to recruit because he's got all these players right here in Atlanta.
What I think is cool about that, and I said this story before, but it's by far one of my favorite stories that I heard from him in the last 2 weeks, is he recounted his time at Murray State years ago in 2010. Murray State beat Vanderbilt in the 2010 NCAA tournament, and he said that enrollment at Murray State went up right after they won. And it was because of the exposure that they got in the big dance that enrollment went up. And he said he believes that could happen at KSU. I mean, all it takes is for some kids to be watching a game and see the owl and think, hey, that's a cool mascot. Right. You get what I'm saying? I know that sounds corny, but like when you're a kid and you watch certain things, it stands out in your mind for some reason, and you see it, you're exposed to it, and you're like, I want to do that, right? So perhaps if you kids out there today watching were inspired and might enroll at KSU. But Amir Abdul-Rahim also keeps saying, like, let's give love to Kennesaw. He said the word Kennesaw so many times, Kennesaw, Georgia, that I think he drilled it in people's minds. He put it out there. He's proud of what he's been able to do there, and he should be. Entering this game, they were 16, but they had won 16 of their last 18 games. They came in this game super duper hot. And, the Cardiac Owls nickname that they earned after being so good in tight games, 7-3, Fred, in one possession games this year, which is a really good number for them, given the fact that they were 1-10 in one possession games in the previous 3 seasons. So they really learned how to finish games this season. They weren't able to do it today, but they did learn throughout the course of the season how to play good basketball and tight basketball in tight situations.
And that really is, when you're battle tested like that, that'll pay dividends in the future because the guys that are coming back, they won't maybe freak out when there's a tie game. They might not, they'll know how to handle these pressure situations, and it all pays dividends, really, I think, in the long run when you go through these types of experiences. And even though you lost today, you may remember something from this game next season that'll help you win a game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you were one of the last 68 standing. That's something to be proud about.
No doubt. Okay, which team has a path now to go to the Final Four, maybe win it? What do you think?
Ooh, well, I'm still going. If we're talking about the obvious, I'm still going with Alabama.
You got Alabama? Okay.
Last night, though, Houston, I think scared a lot of people in that first half.
Right, yeah.
I think a lot of people were like, wait a minute, Houston doesn't look as strong as they thought Houston should have looked. And the Final Four is in Houston, so you have to imagine they want to make it back there.
Yeah, they
want to go and play in front of their own city. So I think they're going to have to pull out some extra tricks, if you ask me, after watching last night's game. But definitely Alabama, a convincing win yesterday. So I'm liking the Tide still. I really, really am. And they're playing in the confines of, basically their hometown city. I don't even think I'm saying that correctly, but
Birmingham,
you know, Birmingham is
They're
so
playing in their
close
home
to
state.
T-Town, and right. So I think that's a little more of a safer environment for them just to get this tournament started, because as I said yesterday when we did that tournament special, you know, I heard that when they've been playing away from home, they've gotten a lot of taunting because of their off the court issues.
Right.
So that will definitely be something to look out for once they leave Birmingham and go and play somewhere else, is how much taunting will they get because of what's going on off the field, or off the court, I should say, with that team.
Yeah, I think you're right there, because when they go somewhere else, they're going to get taunted and they're going to get, you know, yelled at and screamed at and things that are not going to be very nice. So it'll be interesting to see how those young guys react when that happens. So that will be interesting. So any other team, you like Alabama? I told you Texas. I got Texas going all the way through. I don't know why, but I do. I just got a good feeling about them. We'll see
You
if
have
the
Texas
Longhorns
winning the whole thing?
Yeah, I've got them going all the way through. I've got them getting to Monday night.
So I have Texas and Bama winning. So who do you have Texas playing?
I don't know. I don't have my bracket in front of me, so I forgot. But I'll go get it here, and I'll have it for you. They gave me a bracket that was not mine, so I can't remember who I put on the other side.
Yeah, I like your pick. I have Texas and Bama, you know, in the championship game, but I have Alabama reigning supreme.
I don't think I have Bama going.
Because they score. As Lee Smith, my photographer, says, they know how to score. They average like 80-something points per game. So,
well, forget who I had, Emily, because I had Arizona. My Final Four was Arizona, Purdue, UCLA, and Texas, with Texas winning it all. So
that's all right. I have Texas, Kansas State, Kansas, and Alabama in my Final Four.
Okay. So Alabama's still alive, right? So they're playing UVA coming up next, right? Emily?
Well, Virginia lost to Furman.
Virginia lost to Furman. That's right. That was a big upset.
Yes.
So that knocked me out.
Yeah, that was.
So I've got Arizona was another one of mine that got knocked out. So yeah, I'm not in good shape anymore.
I had Arizona moving on.
Yep. So
I definitely did not pick Furman or Princeton, but that's all right. My Final Four is still intact.
Your whole Final Four still intact?
Yep. Kansas, Kansas State. I don't believe Kansas State has played yet, have they? Or did they play this morning? They play tonight. So Kansas, Kansas State, Alabama, and Texas. That's my Final Four.
All righty. Now, the Georgia
women.
women.
Trey Young had Kansas State going all the way and winning.
Well, that'd be big if they could pull that off, right?
He shows love to his conference. That's what he does. He shows love to his conference, and he played at Oklahoma. So
well, the Big
he didn't
12,
go with Kansas. He went with Kansas State.
Well, the Big 12 has been tough this year. I mean, I got to give him credit there. So the Big 12 has been good this year. All right, now our next topic: the Georgia women, the Lady Bulldogs, advanced today. That was a nice win for the Lady Dogs.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, listen, anytime the ladies in our state can represent, I'm all for it. You know, bring more exposure to the program. Even though the Lady Dogs, Fred, when I first got here to Atlanta, I remember like 6+ years ago, you told me how good of a program that was. They haven't had many head coaches. The turnover has been so little there because they've seen so much success.
Right, yeah.
Joni Taylor, who's no longer there, she's at Texas A&M, but she had the Dogs rolling for a while, and now there's a new head coach, and here we are again, like in the tournament, doing well. So I like to see it for the Lady Dogs. I'm all about it. Well,
you know, it's tradition. They have a lot of tradition there. Andy Landers really built that program, and then, as you said, Joni took over after that. So this is really a big time program. And you know, I give the late Vince Dooley a lot of credit, because when he took over as athletics director, and even though he was the football coach, he made sure that the other sports were funded. You know, and he made sure that, you know, the women's sports were funded, and he did a good job with that. And, you know, that's why Andy Landers was there for so long, because he had support. And he had good players, and he won a lot. But he did stick around.
And he won.
He won. He stuck around, yeah. So who wouldn't want to stick around? Okay, what's on your mind, Emily?
Yeah. So when I went into the locker room today after KSU's loss, on the board, there were 2 words: love wins. What I thought was pretty cool about that is Coach Amir put it up there, and he explained to his players that the love for each other and the love that they have for the game and any kind of love of basketball is what's going to help them win, and love overcomes everything. And Chris Youngblood explained that to me after the game, because I was like, hey, what's that about? Love wins. And you know, Coach just kind of preached, like, do it for each other. We love each other. And I thought that was such a nice message. Yes, they lost, and you hate to have that happen to a team that fought so hard to get here. But the message at the end of the day stands. Love does win, and not just in basketball, but in life, Fred.
You know, no, I think there are so many lessons that you learn when you're on a team. I don't care which level of a team it is. I mean, whether it's Little League, whether it's high school, whether it's college. You know, you learn, you hope that everybody learns how to be a teammate and how to love one another and how to take care of each other. You know, it's funny you say that, because our coach at Indiana, our current football coach, ends every letter to us, we're the Indiana alumni, LEO, love each other. I mean, that's his slogan, is LEO, after everything. So that's interesting that Coach Amir said that, because it really does pay off. I mean, because, you know, you're in there with your teammates, you know. I mean, you have to have each other's back, because if you don't, you'll fall apart. So you got to be able to take care of one another, and you got to be able to love one another. And I think that's a great slogan, or not slogan. I think this is just a great thing to say, and I think it holds true with Kennesaw State. And I think that's why, you know, they're going to be together for a while, and I hope they have continued success. I really do.
And shout out to Coach Amir, who personally, Fred, this does not happen very often, and you can attest to it, who personally said thank you to the local media for coming and covering KSU. So he stopped by and said thank you to all of us before he went in his press conference. So despite losing, despite having to face his team, who, you know, in the locker room, those players were crying and they were upset. After all that, he still thanked us for coming out to cover KSU, which I thought was just top-notch. And for anybody out there who doesn't know, Amir Abdur-Rahim is top-notch. Everything he does is top-notch. And unfortunately for KSU, I don't know how much longer they have him.
Right,
but he won't be there for long, Fred, because another big program is going to come along and snag him up, because he has passion, he's got style and swag, he can reach players like nobody else can. So here we are talking about him on such a big yet small stage, because KSU is not the biggest school, but we will one day be talking about Coach Amir on the biggest of biggest stages, because he will be at a big-time program coaching kids in the big dance.
He will, you know, and it's a shame. I don't want to say it's a shame, because that's wrong, because I'd be happy for him if he went and got a big job, because he is a good guy. But it's, you know, Kennesaw State is just one of those places that, you know, unfortunately, for whatever reason, it's not a destination yet, you know. It's just not a destination. So guys will come there and, you know, try to move on once they succeed. But I hope that he stays a little while anyway. I mean, somebody's going to come get him. You're right. You're exactly right.
I mean, if he sticks it out, he might stick it out, Fred. I mean, it's just like Greg Marshall at Wichita State when I was there, you know, the MVC, mid-major conference. But they won. They won the MVC every year, so they got their automatic bid every single season for quite a while to play in the big dance, and they were able to succeed in the big dance. And Greg Marshall was flown all around the country and offered jobs, and he refused all of them because he knew what he had at Wichita State. He was a big fish in a small pond there. There was no football. There was nothing else. So in Wichita, in Kansas, even though KU and KSU are big deals there, you had a little program in Wichita State that found ways to win and be successful and sell out the arena every single night. And Greg Marshall was a huge part of that. And, you know, Fred, he just knew what he had, so he didn't leave. So it'd be interesting to see if Coach Amir kind of views it that way and is like, hey, I know what I have here. We can be successful in the ASUN, punch our ticket to the big dance. You know, if we play our cards right every single season and stick it out. But how many coaches truly do that? And that's not me speaking badly.
Right.
A promotion's a promotion, right?
Oh, yeah. Sure. I mean, and the thing is, he's in Atlanta, really. So, I mean, he'll be able to recruit Atlanta no matter where he goes. But, you know, he's home. I mean, you know, he went to school. You know, if if he wanted to, he could probably throw a baseball from, his school, from where he works now, to his high school. So, I mean, he grew up right there. So, I mean, I'd like to see him stay. I really would. But I completely understand if a big school came and got him, he'd have to go. He would have to go, and I think the players.
Not to mention, Fred, Georgia Tech, had this been a couple of seasons like ahead, Georgia Tech's opening, had he been at Kennesaw State maybe a couple more years, if this were a couple years from now, I'm sure Tech would have interviewed him.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, again, Atlanta, you can recruit Atlanta. If you can recruit Atlanta and coach a little bit, you can go anywhere in the world because, recruiting travels, right? I mean, you can get players, then you're in good shape. You're going to roll. But I hope he gets.
That's right.
All right, Emily. Well, hey, thanks so much. I know you have to head back, so we really appreciate you taking time now to come on with us.
Do you hear how loud it is here? It's the Kentucky fans coming through.
Oh, the Blue
They
Necks.
are the next session.
Here come
so
the
you
Blue
know,
Necks, baby.
yeah. So you know how rowdy it's getting. Let us give you a quick look. There's 2 more games to come tonight from Greensboro Coliseum. But, definitely Kentucky is in the house.
Oh, yeah.
They have Providence tonight. So it was funny. Somebody was walking by me earlier, and I heard them, and they were like, oh, the SEC's here. And I laughed. So obviously a huge contingency of Wildcats fans coming through here. But, yeah, it's going to be another, good night of basketball, not just here but around the country. And I'm excited to see if there's any more upsets.
I know. It's going to be fun. And by the way, don't call any of them Blue Necks to their face, please. That's just my Indiana University thing there. I said that, okay? I don't want to get in any trouble.
I'll follow the rules.
All right. Be careful
right.
coming back, all right?
Have a good weekend, Fred.
Okay. Take care, Emily. Thanks so much for joining us on Atlanta News First Plus Sports Tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Or no, Monday.